As the clock continues to tick on Erik ten Hag's future at Manchester United, Luke Shaw is almost adding salt to injury as he has come out and for the first time in months spoken openly about his injury struggles and is laying blame on Erik ten Hag himself and several other people. Is this the wrong timing for him to be saying this? Could he land the boss into more trouble, giving Ineos more reasons to not trust Erik ten Hag? Well, let's wait and see. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. Here to give you a quick update, of course, concerning an important player for Manchester United. Sadly, he has only played, I think, he only played in about 12 games, but that doesn't take away the fact that Shaw is an important player for both club and country. No wonder, despite the struggles with injury, he was risked. Gareth Southgate risked and took him as his first priority of the left for the upcoming Euros. Now, Shaw has come out to speak. He says he has been triggered by what he has been seeing. I think he watched the United Sport here, where I was questioning him and saying, why on earth, how on earth is Luke Shaw fit for the Euros, a part of the Euros squad, yet he couldn't play for Manchester United since so many months ago? Now, Shaw has said this did not sit well with him, and that's why he was tempted to come up and open up and speak about his injury situation. And he was not, he didn't take any hostages. He blamed first himself, because he said himself, and everyone else is to be blamed. Now, if you recall, Luke Shaw last played for Manchester United against Luton, and he was he didn't come back at halftime because he felt something. But the week before that, he showed the signs. He had returned from a long injury, then played against Aston Villa, and he said he felt something. So the whole week after the Aston Villa game, he did not train for the whole week. But on the eve of the Luton game, comes into training, trains the whole day, and is selected at Kenilworth Road. Now, he knew that shouldn't have happened, but he says he's never going to tell the manager, no, I'm not going to play. If the manager asks him to be in the squad, he's never going to come out and say, no, I can't, I don't feel well. And he says perhaps at hindsight, that was a mistake on his side, shouldn't have done it, but also the manager shouldn't have selected him. But also he lays blame on the medical team at Manchester United. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, again shows you the rot that this club has had to endure for so long. That because he says the scan, they took a scan after the Aston Villa game and it showed nothing. The scan he took showed nothing. But this is where the setback came. But I'm thinking, which kind of doctors are these that they won't see they won't see such a problem with an important player like Luke Shaw? This is not any player, it's Luke Shaw. Because let me read for you and quote him properly. Exactly what he said. He said, I felt something against Aston Villa and came off at halftime. I didn't train the whole week, and when the scan came back, there wasn't too much there. So maybe the doctor said he's only being lazy. Stop being lazy, because the fans are complaining about lazy players. So Erik ten Hag says if the scan is showing nothing, then let him train. So he comes back and trains, and he says, and he goes on to say, I then trained the day before the game at Luton. And if the manager asks me to play, I'm never going to say no, but I shouldn't have played. It's kind of everyone's fault, partly my fault, partly the medical staff. I think everyone would admit. This is Luke Shaw saying this. Now, of course, he's now here and hoping that he will be fit enough for the Euros that are just in a few days from now. But I told you that Ineos, in their review of Manchester United, one of the things they did when they came in, they had to speak to players individually. And I'm thinking, what did these players say to Ineos about Erik ten Hag? Because what you can think about it, imagine, because the most important thing rather for a footballer is their fitness. If you're not fit, you're useless. If you're not fit, you risk. Luke Shaw has suffered with injuries. Now, if Erik ten Hag risked, and I remember at some point in the press conference, Erik ten Hag was coming out to say he would never risk any player's fitness for whichever reason. But if he risked with Luke Shaw, what can Luke Shaw say something good about Erik ten Hag in a closed meeting between him and Ineos, who are looking for every reason to sack him? We've been questioning Erik ten Hag's training methods and his stoic character and his mentality that's stuck to stuff. I'm thinking this might give us a sneak peek into what could have gone on in those closed-door meetings between the players and Ineos. Because clearly, I don't think Luke Shaw, after that incident where he low-key feels Erik ten Hag and everyone had a part to do in him feeling how being where he is now and at the verge of perhaps even not starting as many games as he'd want to start at the Euros, you don't think he would speak well about the manager, would he? So this is the rot we talk about. Now, this is how a manager again loses the dressing room. So Shaw is a big player with big player of influence at Man United. He has been there for a long time. Eric Ten Hag first rates him highly. Perhaps Eric Ten Hag, it was a case of desperacy, but also Eric Ten Hag came out and spoke earlier that he was misled by the medical team who assured him that Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia would be fit by December, I think end of December, and that's why he let go of Reguilon back to Spurs from his loan. So you look at that rot and confusion around the club, and you're thinking, first of all, would it even be fair to blame Eric Ten Hag and let go of him just after enduring all these things we are beginning to see? Because that was never a problem. And we know that Ineos have already started the work. They have sacked nearly the entire medical team, cleaned it, and their game plan, their strategy is bring the medical team of Arsenal probably. They started with Gary Obrisco. Now, Rhys Jordan, I think Rhys Jordan is also rumored to be joining Man United from Arsenal. So they are bringing the whole, perhaps, Arsenal medical team. It's rare, but again, we can blame Ineos for not having a proper game plan for themselves, but probably they did not anticipate that they would need to go as deep as the medical team, because honestly, and this is so important, guys, because we need to understand why exactly Man United had all those bad injuries. Eric Ten Hag was speaking about not being lucky. I mean, yes, luck is there. But I mean, we cannot come out here and say that all those injuries were because we are unlucky. There are certain things we are definitely not doing right that caused the injuries that we've seen at Manchester United. So this is the cleanup that Ineos is doing. So within this cleanup, would it be wise for Ineos to come out and clean the manager as well, or isn't it smarter to first clean up the structure, bringing the right medical staff, hoping that you've solved the injury problem, you brought in the right structure, technical team, brought in the right culture, the work culture, the organization, and give him a chance before letting go of him. These are now the debates that Ineos should be going back and forth around. But again, it is understood that they are still interested in Gareth Southgate, that even when they see what is going on, their eyes seem to be locked on Gareth Southgate for some reason. We may not know until they are justified. But of course, on the other side, they are probably wanting to be their own men and bringing a manager who is their own, so that they take all the credit if it works well. It's their way, and it's them who have saved United from going down the dogs. But away from Luke Shaw, that's the expose that Luke Shaw has given us about this rot at Man United, and now we probably have an idea of why we've got the injuries we had, but also the facilities. Really, the facilities at Carrington needed a facelift long time ago. Cristiano Ronaldo told us this, so we can blame the medical team. But yes, I know they say that a bad workman blames his tools, but when it comes to player fitness, I think the tools are important. They're as important as the user, probably the workman himself. So we cannot really say you have a rotten gym with rusty facilities, things of 10 decades ago, and we say they cannot be a contribution to the poor performance of the medical staff, because by the time there were medical staff at Man United, they were certainly qualified to an extent. So probably, I mean, the guys lost their jobs, but it wasn't entirely their fault. But again, we would never know. But hearing exposes like this from a player like Luke Shaw shows you what exactly Eric Ten Hag had to cope with at Manchester United. Now, away from that, of course, Joao Neves, guys, an update. I understand that, first of all, Lenny Yoro is attracting attention of Real Madrid, apparently, whether it's true or not, whether it's their agent trying to bait clubs to try and panic, or to try and hype the value of their player, who apparently reports suggested that Man United were contemplating bidding about £50 million for, which I thought for me would be on the higher side. But apparently Real Madrid are interested in him, and they can only pay about £30 million for him. So if a player is wanted by Real Madrid, really, that shows you they're highly appreciated. I think, of course, it can be true, or it can be the agents just trying to be smart. In this day and age of social media, as an agent, you can't be resting. You can't be sat there having such a talent like Lenny Yoro, and the transfer window is coming, and you just keep quiet, you don't say anything. You've got to treat you to scratch the market. You've got to scratch the market and force a move if you have to. So I think all other football agents should borrow a leaf from all these agents around Europe who are pretending like their players are so valuable, wanted by big clubs, even if they are not, but just trying to throw a bait so that certain clubs that can have money can come and try to bid for them, and the agents earn commission. I think at times it can be a bait, but those are reports coming. Honestly, Lenny Yoro is good, but for me, I've never viewed him as a 50 million pounds player. So if that's the fee Man United, is being asked to pay, quoted, I think they can as well move on and go for any other player, because in any case he's coming in as a backup and a signing for the long term. I think we can do with Todibo for this summer and hold on a minute for him. Then Joao Neves, the talk of Joao Neves is real. It's extremely serious. United are clearly interested in this boy, and I think for me it's a good thing. I'm hoping he will be our marquee signing. I think if we signed him, he would be definitely our marquee signing. Forget about Todibo, forget about all the rest. He would be the marquee signing. I think that would be the real catch. If he came in, I think it would give us for this summer. And you look at the options, because there are signings you make. You bring one player, but there's depth in a single player. What that means is, if you bring, for example, there is a lot of depth in Kobe because he can play as a 6, which is not his favorite position. But if he has to, he can play as a 6, can play as an 8, can play as a 10. That's depth. The depth in having a player like Mason Greenwood is that he can play as a 10, can play as a false 9, can play as a 7, can play as an 11. That's depth. It's always good to sign players who give you that individual depth, especially if they're going to be expensive. Not a player who will be bought for so much money, but can only play one position. You understand? So depth is not entirely in numbers. It can also be in personnel. Sofiane Amrabat, if he's playing good like he played towards the end of the season, can give you a bit of depth because he can play as a 6. I'm sure you can play him as an 8 if there is need. There's someone injured and he has to be a backup. He can play as a 6. We've seen him play at left back. I'm certain he can play as a central defender if he's called upon. That's depth in an individual. These are all things you look at when you're signing players, especially in the situation where Man United is, where we need to minimize costs and expenses and cut down on the wage bill. So the players we're looking at, I think for me, I think are good for now. Well, that's it. My name is Webb. This is the Health Sport. This video is powered by Uplift Causes. Check out the website www.upliftcauses.org and let's check out what is being done to help young kids with their mental health. I'm hoping you too will start to support kids with their mental health. Soon on that YouTube channel on Uplift Causes, we should be able to also start something there where we just talk to people. We've put together a strong team of people who are strong in mental health. If you're one of those, you can as well contact us and we see how we can work. It doesn't matter where you are. The world is now a global village. We can contact and of course support people online here with their mental health. Is so important. But Uplift also mostly goes into communities, especially in schools and churches and communities, and help young people to understand, to also try to equip them with skills and knowledge of how to handle and deal with their mental health. The thing is, if you teach young people, you've taught a community, because they will go back to their homes and they should be the ones who will spread this to their younger ones, to their parents. Parents shout at us, especially in Africa. The parents, I think, are huge contributors to the issues of our mental health. For girls especially, they will keep asking you why you're not married, why you're not married, why don't you have a man, I need grandchildren. That alone can mess up a girl's mental health. So there is a lot that messes up the mental health of people. So let's take it serious. So you go check out Uplift and contact the numbers. Of course, you'll find on the website, and you should be able to join in, so that you can want to sponsor an outreach where we keep going to schools consistently, put together experts about mental health, create topics, put together nice presentations, and go talk to these kids. It's a beautiful experience, guys. It's a beautiful experience. So be a part of it, and let's help each other. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. Like, share, and subscribe. We do hope Luke Shaw's mental health is okay going into the Euros, because after that we'll need him at his Luke Shaw best for Manchester United. Subscribe.